Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday to you all. I'm so excited and pleased that you've been taking the time to join us for daily devotions through Redeeming Life Fellowship. And if you've been following along the reading plan, you'll know that we're in John. We're going to be in John chapter 9 today. And you'll probably notice I'm normally in my study, but today I'm actually in my workshop. And because it's here in my workshop where I've been most of the day, and I've been meditating on the passage that we're about to read, where Jesus says as much in John chapter 9, verse 5, that where I am the light of the world. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. And pondering what it is that Jesus means by that. And I've had already 2 cups of coffee, and so I'm feeling pretty loaded, feeling pretty loquacious, so this might get a little wordy, but I will try my best to be able to try and get to the point. I remember there's a famous quote by C.S. Lewis in his book, The Weight of Glory. And he says, I believe in Christianity in the same way that I believe in a sunrise. I believe in it not only because I can see it, but by it I can see everything else. In other words, we can see light for what it is, but the quality of light brings illumination to everything else, so that you can see it for what it is, but that by it, it's like your eyes are opened and you can function, you can see things for what they are by virtue of the light that you're depending on. And I think that's a lot of what Jesus means when he says that he's the light of the world. That it's not merely that we can see Jesus for who he is, but by the light that he provides, that we can actually see and experience spiritual illumination of everything else. And what's interesting to me about this is that it doesn't matter how good your eyesight is. Some people can see perfectly, some people need glasses, some people need contacts, some people are farsighted, some people are nearsighted. But without light, everybody is in darkness. It doesn't matter how good or how good it is that you think that you can see. Without light, everybody is equally blind. And that when we see Jesus and hear him say that he's the light of the world, that should recognize, or at least remind us, that the sort of illumination and the sight and that Jesus himself provides is one that's a gift of grace. And it's easy to want to take things like your understanding, spiritual illumination, even the gift of eyesight and gift of light, for goodness sake. It's easy to want to take those things for granted. And what's interesting also is that it's what we're about to read, that it's people who pride themselves in the light of knowledge and understanding who are regarded as those who are blind and cannot recognize that the light of understanding that God himself reveals as he reveals himself through Jesus Christ is one that's a gift of grace. And it's one that it's received through humility. And that sort of thing comes through in the way in which John tells a story about Jesus, about a blind man. Not merely his physical eyesight is restored, but also his spiritual eyesight is recovered. And that those who can see physically still remain blind spiritually to not only Jesus himself, but blind to everything else because they can't see the light that Jesus himself provides. And so their whole lives are in total darkness because they don't have Jesus. And all of that comes through in this symbolic narrative fashion. True narrative, but with symbolic sublayer that John wants us to be able to see and to meditate on as we're reading about what Jesus means when he says that he's the light of the world. So let's read together John chapter 9, beginning in verse 1. We'll just read the whole thing. And it says, As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus, "but this happened so that the work of God might be displayed in his life. As long as it is day, we must do the work of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." Having said this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. "Go," he told him, "wash in the pool of Siloam." This word means sent. Definitely some echoes to Genesis and the creation of man out of dust that's happening right here. There's the act of new creation that's happening. So the man went and washed, and he came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, "Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg?" Some claimed that he was. Others said, "No, he only looks like him." But he himself insisted, "I am the man." "How then were your eyes opened?" they demanded him. He replied, "The man they call Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see." "Where is this man?" they asked him. "I don't know," he said. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had been blind. Now the day on which Jesus had made the mud and opened the man's eyes was a Sabbath. Therefore the Pharisees also asked him how he had received his sight. "He put mud on my eyes," the man replied, "and I washed, and now I see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath." But others asked, "How can a sinner do such miraculous signs?" So they were divided. Finally, they turned again to the blind man. "What have you to say about him? It was your eyes he opened." The man replied, "He is a prophet." The Jews still did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they sent for the man's parents. "Is this your son?" they asked. "Is this the one you say was born blind? How is it that he can see?" "We know he is our son," the parents answered, "and we know he was born blind. But how he can see now, or who opened his eyes, we don't know. Ask him. He is of age. He will speak for himself." His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jews, for already the Jews had decided that anyone who acknowledged that Jesus was the Christ would be put out of the synagogue. That was why his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." A second time they summoned the man who had been blind. "Give glory to God," they said. "We know this man is a sinner." He replied, "Whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind, but now I see." Then they asked him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered, "I told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too?" Then they hurled insults at him and said, "You are this fellow's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but as for this fellow, we don't even know where he comes from." The man answered, "Now that is remarkable. You don't know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to the godly man who does his will. Nobody has ever heard of opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing." To this they replied, "You are steeped in sin at birth. How dare you lecture us?" And they threw him out. Verse 35, Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, and when he had found him, he said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" "Who is he, sir?" the man asked. "Tell me so that I may believe in him." Jesus said, "You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one who is speaking to you." Then the man said, "Lord, I believe," and he worshipped him. Jesus said, "For judgment I have come into the world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind." Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this. and asked, "What? Are we blind too?" Jesus said, "If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin, but now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains." So it's remarkable how it is that the pride of all the things that you know and the things that you know to be the case that give you some kind of sense of, I don't know, stability, pride of place in the world, that you can even, maybe put it this way, find security in all the things that you know. That you can sort of delight in knowing things that people don't know, or have understanding of things that people don't understand, and by virtue of having those things, that somehow elevates you above them. And the thing that I can understand about this is that if Jesus really does mean what he says, spiritually speaking, that he is the light of the world, that means that all of us need him. In the same way that none of us can get along with our lives without light, I don't see how any of us can get along and get on with our lives and to live well without Jesus. That whoever Jesus is, if he is the light of the world, that means that I must desperately, desperately need him. And that the things that he has to offer me is a gift of grace. And the only thing I have to do is humble myself before him and receive his gift. And I like light. As a matter of fact, I get frustrated when I try and do things and try and get on with my life and do just basic things. Without adequate light, I'm going to keep hitting myself in the thumb with a hammer because I can't see where it is that I'm swinging. Because I need light in order to be able to see. Doesn't matter how good my eyesight is. Without light, I'm a lost person. But if Jesus really is the light of the world, that must mean that not only do I need him, and desperately need him for life itself, but that the gift of what it is that he has to offer must be immeasurably and profoundly good. And I don't want to live my life stumbling in darkness just because I was too proud of the light of my own illumination and to recognize, that I was too proud to recognize that the gift of the light of Jesus Christ is something that comes by way of a gift. And the light that he provides is one that is a gift because he thinks that your life valuable and my life valuable. And if it comes by way of a gift, that means I have every reason to be thankful to God for what it is that he gives and what only he can provide. And so with that, that's our devotional for today. And so I pray that each and every one of us would recognize Jesus for who he is, and that we would see him, and by virtue of seeing him, that we'd also be able to see everything else. And so I pray God would bless you. I pray that he would heal all of us in our spiritual blindness, so that our eyes would be opened, and that we could live in a way that is founded on belief in him and him alone, and our spiritual eyesight would be restored, and that God would accomplish his work in and through us that he desires to do. So with that, God bless you, take care, and I look forward to seeing you next time.